All right, Robinhood, here we go again. Rob from the rich and give to the poor. But wait, you've activated my trap card, Kaiba. Anyway, I've asked you to ask me questions on Instagram and on my Discord page about what happened last week. So this is my open letter to Robinhood and its CEO Vlad Tenev, because we have tens of thousands of submissions. So thank you for sending those in. And personally, I have a lot of questions that I would love to have Robinhood answer, because this tweet, let them trade, it did not age well. And following everything that's happened, I've stopped promoting their free stock giveaways and I've stopped receiving any kind of commissions from them until we figure out exactly what happened, but more on that later. So this is my attempt to leverage my YouTube platform to figure out exactly what happened, and hopefully they listen to me, hopefully they listen to you and answer some of our questions, because I also wanted to give you my overall objective perspective on what's going on, because I've done a ton of research to try to understand this, and I've held off on posting this video until I learned more, and understandably people are upset, so it's very difficult, but hopefully this video sheds some light on what happened, and hopefully Robinhood chimes in and answers some of these questions regarding where we're at right now and where we're gonna go in the future. So let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Andrei Jikh. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for the weird Yu-Gi-Oh! And Uno references. But if you're unaware of exactly what is going on, let me just catch you up to speed and give you a brief summary of what's going on right now. Because seemingly out of nowhere, when people on Reddit were becoming multi-millionaires from buying stocks like AMC and Gamestop, apps like Robinhood and other brokerages shut it all down, which of course drove the price downwards because people were only allowed to sell, which made people even more scared and panic sell, which drove the price even more downward, which ultimately only helped the hedge funds make more money. So unfortunately for Robinhood, that goes against their entire ethos of what they're supposed to stand for, which is allowing people to trade and standing for the people. So now there's a huge push for a class action lawsuit against Robinhood, and a lot of people are suing them. And we even had Jordan Belfort, the guy from the Wolf of Wall Street, call out Robinhood and take a stance against them. And you know, if that guy calls you out on your ethics, something's wrong. They made an entire movie about it. And there's also Dave Portnoy, who's another very influential person in the finance space, say that based on the decisions that Robinhood made, it's very unlikely that they're going to survive. And we even had Elon Musk grill Vlad Tenev on the Clubhouse app, which apparently is this new app that all the cool kids are on, so definitely go hop on it if you haven't already. And he asked him a ton of questions, but there was a lot of questions Elon did not ask that I wish he had, which is why I'm making this video. So hopefully it's gonna be insightful, it's gonna get a little bit technical, but the first question I have for Robinhood is about transparency. What I wanna know is, what are some of the requirements that Robinhood has in order to work with some of the other entities on a financial level? Because here's how I understand it. Anytime we go to buy and sell a stock, we're not actually buying it from Robinhood itself. If anything, Robinhood is more like the eBays of the world in that it connects the buyer, which in this case would be me, to the seller, which in this case would be what's called the market maker. And at that point, I understand the transaction then gets sent to something called Robinhood Securities, which apparently is a whole separate thing, where Robinhood Securities then works with something called the Clearinghouse to make the transaction official, where it finally settles, and that takes 2 days. Now, from what I understand, the industry terminology for this is something called T+2, and for us, the users, this happens instantaneously, but behind the scenes, it technically takes 2 days. So this part I get. What I don't get though is, how are those financial requirements calculated by the NSCC? I understand that Vlad doesn't know it because it's subjective, which is just a fancy word for it's their opinion, which I'm sure is based on some mathematical standard. But can you please explain how exactly they quoted you $3 billion, but then you were able to negotiate it down to $1.4 billion, and then subsequently down to $700 million, which is how much you actually paid the clearinghouse? Because that part doesn't really make sense to me. I know that you couldn't just front $3 billion because that is literally more money than you had ever raised for Robinhood throughout its entire history. So you can't just pay that to the clearinghouse, but how is it so subjective that it went from 3 billion down to 700 million? That seems super cloak and dagger. To someone who's not in that world, to someone who's not running a multi-billion-dollar company, why was the cost calculated to be so prohibitively expensive? Because I understand it's normally fractions of the price, and short of the clearinghouse literally hopping into a time machine and going to the future just to see how that trading day would play out, I just for the life of me cannot think of how they quoted you such a price. I understand partially it's because Robinhood was the most popular app that week, and most people were using it to make those trades for those stocks, which is also why other brokerages allowed trading of that stock for a lot longer because they were technically less popular, so they had less of the cost. But still, that is an insane amount of money, and I just don't get it. And correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like perhaps a missed PR opportunity to eat some of those costs and say to people, hey, we raised some money from our investors and we allowed you guys to trade while everyone else was shutting you down. We got your back. So that seems like a perfectly missed opportunity. So I just love to know. And also, why do you have to work with the NSCC? I understand they're a regulatory body whose job it is to regulate and make sure people are safe, but why did neither the NSCC or the SEC step in and shut down trading on both the buy and sell side for both the retail and the institutional hedge funds across the board to make sure everybody is equally safe? Because instead, they allowed the retail investors to just continue to sell but not buy, which limited their momentum, which only helped the hedge funds and their momentum, which didn't help people at all. It did not keep people safe whatsoever. It's almost like they saw regular people making money and they were just like, wait. This is dangerous. It's not safe for you. We'll take it from here. Weird. This leads to another follow-up. Why couldn't Robinhood allow people to buy GameStop and AMC for cash accounts? For example, this is my account with Robinhood. This is my cash management part of the app. This is not a margin account. This is my money. This is my cash. I twerked for this money. And why couldn't Robinhood allow me to buy those equities? Why did it restrict trading and buying across all of their accounts? Because remember, in the previous example of T+2, they have to pay a lot of money to their clearinghouse because not everybody has this money instantaneously. But for the people that do, they should have been allowed to be able to buy those stocks. And one important clarification is, there's a delicate balance between allowing people some certain freedoms. Like, I do understand that Robinhood has to allow people to sell the stock. That's because some people just panic and they need to get out of the stock. They need the money. So unfortunately, that creates this narrative that Robinhood is trying to help the hedge funds because by allowing people to sell the stock, it's only going to drive the price downward, which again, is not helping people. It's only helping the hedge funds. So I would love some clarification on this point. And the next question I have is one about conflicts of interest. So this one has been keeping me up at night, and I truly do not know the answer to this one, and a lot of people have asked this question, so I'm going to ask Robinhood directly, which is, please let us know the full extent of your relationship with companies like Citron Research, Melvin Capital, and Citadel. Because just to refresh people's memory, remember, Citadel is the market maker, which if we're the buyer, Citadel would be like the seller of the stocks that we want to buy. And Robinhood works very, very closely with companies like Citadel, and it makes a lot of money from Citadel. In fact, from my understanding, it is their largest client. But what's interesting is that Citadel was also the largest short seller of the stocks that Robinhood stopped allowing people to buy. So if I was Citadel, it would actually be in my best interest to not allow Robinhood to sell some of the stocks that I'm obviously shorting. Because if more people buy that stock, then the more Citadel will continue to bleed money. And if your best client is bleeding money, then maybe you have some incentive to protect them. I know Robinhood's response to this is just to brush it off as a conspiracy theory and whatever, but I'm not trying to point fingers at Robinhood. I'm not even saying that they were colluding with Citadel to do anything nefarious or anything like that, but you have to admit, the fact that this circumstance is even allowed to exist in this industry raises a huge red flag. It's like literally putting the fox in charge of the hen house and then telling it to keep track of how many chickens there are. What do you think would happen? There were 0 chickens. There were never chickens here. What are you talking about? How is that not the biggest regulatory red flag in the world? That's not a conspiracy, that's a logical question. And I know that Vlad has told us that Citadel did not pressure Robinhood into doing anything, and maybe we believe that, but maybe some clarity would really help us go a long way here considering their circumstances and considering the conflicts of interest that Citadel had. So the question then becomes, is there anything that we as consumers, or you as a corporation, is there anything we can do to minimize our dependence on market market makers like Citadel with such conflicts of interest? And maybe, is there a better way that we can open a channel of communication between the NSCC and the SEC and Robinhood to perhaps shut down the trading, the buying and selling of equities across the board for everybody? That way you're not just left taking the blame for what ultimately these regulatory bodies should have done to protect people in the first place. The next question I have is one about the future. What happens if the same exact scenario plays out again? How would we do things differently? Because let's just say that Wall Street again decides to short some other poor company. And let's just say that Wall Street bets, or just in general, the retail community gets together and finds out what that stock is. They buy it en masse, the price goes up, and then once again, your clearinghouse quotes you billions of dollars and makes it prohibitively expensive. How would we do things differently? Because if the answer is we wouldn't, we followed all the regulatory requirements, we did nothing wrong, then clearly that would be the wrong answer. Because hundreds of thousands, if not millions of customers are understandably upset over what happened. So clearly something needs to change. And if the answer is nothing would change, then I think Robinhood probably won't stick around for very long, which is a shame. And I don't want that to happen because I really do love Robinhood and I think they've done so much for the world of finance and investing, and they democratized so much. But the question is really, how would we do things differently? And this one is directly from my Discord channel. Somebody asked, how does the company plan to restore consumer confidence in Robinhood? And that's a really great question because we are no longer living in a time where free trades are only exclusive to Robinhood. Even though Robinhood was one of the first few companies to really revolutionize the industry, we now have smaller fintech apps like Webull, and even the largest ones like Charles Schwab enable free trades, and they actually have a customer support line. So at this point in time, what is there that Robinhood can do to change the overall connotation and perception of the app to a more positive light? So if I could give you my 2 cents and have some suggestions, the first thing that I would love to see is for Robinhood to follow through on their commitment to show some love to people in the UK to finally allow them to buy and sell stocks for free. I would really love to see that because again, that was the promise on Q1 in 2020. The second thing I would love to see is for Robinhood to actually allow people to buy and sell Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies across all the states in the US, because I'm still here in Nevada and I cannot buy Bitcoin with the app. And if you do enable that, please allow us to take these coins off of the exchange and move it somewhere else. That's a huge feature. I would also love to see retirement accounts be a thing. So I love to have an IRA inside of Robinhood. And the last thing, and I think the most important thing, is to actually have a physical customer support line that people can call and actually talk to a human being. So that would go a long way in showing us some commitment towards improvement. Look, I understand that these things cannot be solved overnight. And if there's one thing I want you to understand if you're still watching this video, is that no matter what I say in my videos, Robinhood will never come on publicly and say, wow, Andre, those are great points. We never thought about it that way. I guess you're right and we were wrong. They can't say that. Their lawyers would literally not let them, because if they said that, that would give way too much credibility to the very many lawsuits that I'm sure they are now faced with. So if Robinhood can't come on my channel and admit any wrongdoing because maybe they didn't do anything wrong, maybe they followed all the regulatory and legal procedures to a T. If that's the case, then at least acknowledge the fact that this industry has such a long way to go in terms of eliminating these conflicts of interest and all of these rules and regulations that really need a new refresh. That would be great. That would go a long way. If Vlad wants to come on my channel and blink twice about being a hostage to these, that's fine too. Or if he wants to say, don't hate the player, hate the game, bro. Power to the people, game stonk. That's perfectly acceptable with me too, because at least it tells me that he's acknowledged the fact and that they're working their best to basically update the industry and to change it from the inside out. And at least that way we know that they're on our side. And look, just like it's fair for me to demand personal and full disclosure from them, I think it's only fair to let you know exactly my relationship with Robinhood as well. I've been very honest with you since the beginning of my channel, and when I started 2 years ago, I told myself that no matter how successful I became on YouTube or not to ever compromise my opinion when it comes to financial products. Meaning, I do not ever want to be under a contractual legal obligation to speak positively about any financial app in exchange for money. That's because I value my freedom the same exact way that the reason I made this video in the first place, to be able to speak out and say truly what I want. That's really important to me. And to this day, I've stayed true to my word. And the reason that I bring this up, because I know I've said this before, is because I still have some people ask me, well, Andre, you clearly still promoted their free stock thing, so clearly you still got paid. And that's true. That's because you got a free stock and I did make a small commission. But at the end of the day, that doesn't actually compromise my opinion because I'm not exclusive with them. I'm not under any contractual obligation to promote them in any way. And when things like this happen, I can still make videos like this and express myself freely. And since all of this has happened, I've not taken on a single dollar or free stock from either affiliates or sponsorships or any capacity from Robinhood until they're able to clear this up. In the meantime, Robinhood, your competitor, is still offering 4 free stocks. Webull, by depositing $100, you'll get 4 free stocks, 2 of which can be valued up to $1,600 each. And if you'd like to get started with cryptocurrencies and investing in things like Bitcoin, you can use my links down below with either Gemini or Coinbase. And if you'd like to get up to $250 worth of free Bitcoin, you can use this code right here with BlockFi and go do that. It's really cool. And if you'd like to track your stonks, you can go to my Patreon and download my spreadsheet. Love you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'd love to know your thoughts, and I will see you back here on Monday, Friday, sometimes a Wednesday. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.